Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Inquiry Club, a podcast where we make psychological insights interesting, relatable, and relevant for your everyday lives. And today we're talking about the phenomenon known as parasocial relationships. So, firstly, maybe it'd be helpful to define what a parasocial relationship is, because it kind of sounds like a disease or something kind of scary. I feel like when I heard it, I was like, what is that?
Jumpstart.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the formal thing that I read in a research article is when people anthropomorphize non-human agents to cope with feelings of disconnected from real people and form a sense of connection with beings who are impossible. So that could be a fictional character, like maybe your favorite movie person or whatever, or someone in a novel, or something nearly impossible like celebrities that you would likely not meet in real life. So aka kind of every Taylor Swift fan, not to come for them because I feel like scared. I feel like everyone's scared to say anything, but they feel like they know Taylor Swift and that she loves them individually, but she, has never invested in them personally.
No.
And likely
Never will.
Never will. Sorry to break that to him.
She doesn't have the bandwidth for it.
She doesn't have the band.
Imaginary friends being parasocial relationships is so crazy to me. Yeah, just like some entity that you can't actually be friends with. It's like that's a parasocial relationship as much as Emma Chamberlain in 2016,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like it's evolved to be more media related, I guess, in the 21st century, but has probably existed in some sort of format throughout people's lives
for forever.
In some ways.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, like, what that would look like in terms of prior to, because I feel like there's some ambiguity in terms of like movie stars and, or more anonymity, I guess is a better word, in like celebrity or like people that are very famous. They had like a distant thing, but I feel like people only really saw them as the characters versus like people that they knew. It was almost like they had a distant otherworldliness to them.
Yeah. I'm picturing people in the medieval times like having parasocial relationships to their like royal families.
I know, that's where my mind went as well. I'm like, so did they feel like they knew the king? But I don't feel like anyone felt, I mean, I'm projecting, but it doesn't seem like it would.
It doesn't feel like there would be, I feel like honestly, even looking without like the aspect of social media or like content creators or things, there's just so much more information about people readily available that it's even Taylor Swift's dating life when she was in high school was just available through interviews or anything. But it's like now you kind of have access to all of that. And every
and you could see someone like in their
everything.
home technically, and they're like making a video, cooking, or in their closet or whatever. Yeah.
You just have so much more access to information, and I feel like it's even so much more widespread because like content creators know that sharing personal information is like what builds an audience, and so it's almost like a fiend to like share as much as you can.
Yeah, super
but
interesting.
Then it kind of like, I don't know, I feel like even changes the dynamic of like what's readily available for parasocial relationships to even like form versus like an old dichotomy of it.
Yeah, and this originally we kind of came to this topic because our friend Anna Hanisch sent me this research article, and in it claims that people, based on the research that they did, that people perceive parasocial relationships to be effective at fulfilling their emotional needs. And kind of within it, like there was multiple takeaways, and honestly, it's true to like the essence of what, I guess, living in New York, what it kind of said was that if you're sitting next to someone, like on the subway, they would feel more satisfaction to watch a YouTube video of their favorite influencer than they would to talk to an acquaintance. And specifically with individuals with weak ties that were considered weak ties, they found more satisfaction in a stronger emotional need met by whoever was this parasocial person. So I thought it was like an interesting viewpoint of like, you actually do see that. People would prefer to have a podcast in than talk to someone in line. And so I feel like at the core of this podcast, it's kind of like we want to ask, in an age where we're in our 20s and 30s and we're always constantly online, does that make parasocial relationships kind of a healthy coping mechanism? or a substitute that kind of keeps us from investing in a deeper two-way relationship.
Interesting. Well, I feel like we even talked about this on like one of the first episodes of like the psychology of making great friends.
Yeah.
And I feel like I referenced a study, so we'll have to really know about it in the fact check. But it was
Yeah.
a study. They put two sets of people on bus rides, and they had one set of people talk to the stranger next to them, and they had one set of people not. And the people who sat on the bus ride, 5% of them rated that they enjoyed their bus ride like significantly more than they were expecting to, and everyone
Yeah.
else like basically didn't. And so it was a psychology of like being surprised by enjoying like talking to strangers or random
Yes.
interactions or weak ties or acquaintances. But I feel like we do miss so much of that just because it is so much easier to put on a YouTube video or a comfort creator or stalk someone on TikTok, or even like
Yes.
I have my favorite Instagram accounts that I just always go and look up what the aesthetic girlies are up to and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
But it's like that there is the extra challenge of like deciding to talk to the person next to you versus like invest in a parasocial relationship. And like maybe today the goal of our conversation is like looking at the psychology behind those types of decisions, and also like what kind of impact that has on your social life and on the brain chemistry of your relationships.
Yeah, and do you think, I don't know, as you're talking, I was just pondering, I was like, do you think it's that people are seeking more comfort, or that they don't want to be necessarily like rejected in terms of like conversation, or experience like the discomfort of like having to initiate, or is it like, what's the point? And then I have this alternate platform. Because I think one of the interesting, advantages that was listed throughout this research article was that it was viewed as almost like emotionally, what was the verbiage? It was like emotionally fulfilling. So it actually met like emotional needs in terms of like feeling like they belong, or that they feel like a sense of relief or a sense of security. But I kind of mentioned this to summer prior. I was like, okay, just because it meets like an emotional need, does that mean it's therefore good? Because that's kind of the whole, I feel like, argument with AI relationships or AI bots, and everyone's like, is that a valid relationship? Or I don't know if anyone ever watched the TLC show that was like My Strange Addiction, but I remember a man formed a relationship with a tractor and married it. That's so insane, saying that out loud. But in some ways, he was arguing that met his emotional needs. Like, I don't, and obviously that tractor is not giving anything back, like in terms of actual being able to comfort you, or have the right words to say, or give you a hug. You can't do that, but it also couldn't reject him. And I feel like that is, in like an AI bot, like can't reject you or betray you or be busy whenever you have something you need to share, and you're like, oh, sorry, I'm at coffee with a friend, and you're like, so you rejected me. Like, I think that's almost was one of the potential advantages, I guess, for people.
Yeah. Which is so interesting, and I want to honestly have the visual of the graph of it, because it is like they do meet those needs, and I feel like both of us have those times that I remember. I'm referencing a time when Christina and I lived in college together, and we'd like come back, we'd have like social interaction, and then we'd both separately watch a YouTube video in our beds, our bunk beds at the time, and for 20 minutes, and then we'd have another social interaction again after that, and we both were just like, ugh, recharge time, this is so nice. And I even specifically think about those times, and it's like, I guess that wasn't necessarily like parasocial relationships, because I'm specifically thinking about watching random videos, but choosing that over interacting with a friend, or choosing that over
like that almost felt like alone time in some ways.
Like an alone time, which totally different argument. But even just thinking about the graph of like the payout of investing in, you know, not even like maybe weak ties or acquaintances, but just like the random strangers on the bus, or the random strangers like on the walking trail, or any types of those. Because it is just so much more challenging to be the one to like initiate those types of situations, but like payout over time is so much greater than like a parasocial relationship that will never give back to you. You know, it'll always be there consistently, but it isn't anything that, you know, has any type of longevity in your life.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know what the phenomenon is called, but it's like the people that kind of exist in your life that you don't have necessarily an emotional connection to or relationship with, but it's like people you pass every single day. And that creates in our brains really exciting, dynamic life. And I was just listening to a reporter, like a journalist, talk on the New York Times or like Wall Street Journal, one of the bigger kind of journalism firms, and she was talking about how online creates such a frictionless environment. And I think this kind of, whereas in contrast, in the real world, there's so much friction.
Yeah.
And so it's not setting us up for being successful in our day-to-day reality because there's so much friction. And so we find it super frustrating when we're going on a flight or we're talking to someone at the Apple store to help us fix our laptop and there's trouble and it takes time and people aren't as patient as or like helpful as we'd hope or like maybe I don't know, just like you're running late because the subway or whatever. But alternately online it's so immediate and if our phone loads for longer than 2 seconds we're like refresh. And I think that's kind of one of the arguments that I would make is that something like a parasocial relationship, if gone to as frequently, super frequently, or almost instead of a two-sided relationship, I think that definitely is, or like an opportunity to connect with someone in a new way or a novel way. I think that maybe could be an indicator of just trying to revert back to this frictionless environment versus one that's like, that was kind of an awkward conversation or that was a little weird interaction, but whatever.
Also, path of least resistance, and we were just chatting about our weekends, and even like I second shot with a team in Houston, and like I was just telling Christina that it was kind of like a fun challenge because it's been a while since I've been around like not like acquaintances, like I'd call us friends. Well, one of the girls was like genuinely a stranger, and then the other two I like work with pretty frequently, but it's like a coworker type of friendship, like we're friends but coworkers. And we truly had like 5 hours in the car together and then dinner and then worked together the whole next day and then also drove back the next day. And I was just saying like it's so honestly like so nice to be put in an environment like that because I am a little bit more in comfortable environments or with stronger relationships and less around people where you're making, I don't know, just the social bandwidth of that is a challenge where you realize, okay, in college you see weak ties all the time. You have to, you know, have these interactions one-off that you aren't expecting.
You have to work in a group project and you have to
work in a group project. You have to go to a coffee shop. You have to find, you know, like
you have to like talk to an administrative person to like figure
talk to
X, Y, and Z out.
It's like random stuff that you can almost in the, I don't know, the mundane of a work from home environment, you almost lose those types of things. And so it's just interesting to like think about the choice of like using a frictionless environment because I believe that so many of those skills are use them or lose them. And so you almost lose those kind of the bandwidth to be able to handle those interactions well and get what you want out of them. And then it's the mountain of trying to say hi to that random person at the coffee shop or the mountain of trying to talk to an administrator and not get frustrated becomes so much more challenging because it's not something that you're used to all the time because you have an immediate coping mechanism of a parasocial relationship or, you know, and the easiest way out is just to look at your phone and have invest in those types of, I don't know, vices almost as opposed to like in a real life situation. But it is like you look at the argument and it's like so much easier. And who wants to purposefully add friction to their life just for the sake of like keeping skills up, you know? Jobs are hard, work is hard, things are difficult, and so we don't want to be out of touch to advocate for adding as much friction as you possibly can. But if there's a realism to the balance there.
Yeah, what the journalist was talking about, I forget her name, we'll find it for the fact check, but she mentioned that she thinks it should be added more to the digital environment because people aren't going to add it to themselves.
Add more friction to the digital environment.
And I don't even know what that fully looks like. What does that mean? Like it loads longer? But, or just that, I don't know.
Like, sorry, 70 people are already on Instagram right now. You can't also be on Instagram. You have to wait your turn.
And I don't really understand actually with that. I think you'd have to self-implement. I don't know if you've heard of like Brick recently.
I haven't
It's
actually.
Like that. It's like a thing you can put like in a physical location, and if you tap your phone, it'll lock you out of any sort of like social platforms.
Yeah.
So you would have to like walk over to your brick, or if you're going to a coffee shop to your work and you tap your phone before, you can't go on whatever app you set it to. It's like you can't go on YouTube, you can't go on Instagram, you can't go on like Pinterest, and so there would be no way for you to get back in until you tap your brick again. But like I guess that could be an example of like a way to create more friction in the online environment, because you're not going to get a tech company to add friction to their algorithm. Like that's their whole money making device.
The whole money grab of like the whole everything that's online, is that they want it to be as
how
slick
easy and personalized it is.
As curated. Like every single thing is dopamine hit after dopamine hit. They're trying to take away as much friction as possible, and that's how they've gotten so much attention from us. What's the stat that in the 1950s, when people originally invented the TV, they all thought that it was going to fail because there's no way Americans would waste that much time watching a box?
But I like,
jeez,
that is funny. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, someone tell those people about like 2025, and it's like even people with like great relationships with their phone, or even people who have great relationships with their apps or aren't really on social media, or like X, Y, and Z, still spend a lot of time on it just because that's like such a reality of like this day and age.
Totally. And you know what's really funny? I was just pondering this the other day. I was on the subway and someone that I knew got on, and I was thinking about this, kind of a side note, but it's just an interesting thing to bring up, that I was reading a book when they got on and immediately kind of put it down because it was like, I'm going to chat with them. But honestly, this guy, like, truthfully, a guy got on and was like blasting a speaker right next to us, so New York, and you really couldn't hear it. It kind of got to a point where we were going so far, we all just kind of like had a moment where we're just like, okay, I'm just gonna let the conversation die for a second.
Yeah.
But in some ways, I felt more comfortable to go on my phone than to get back on, like, to read my book again. And I was thinking about why that is, because for some reason a book feels like very all-consuming, or like you can't interrupt. But a phone, in the same way, you're like not talking to them or giving them my attention, but for some reason I feel like it's more socially okay to be on my phone, but versus
I had like a random different thought
read a
towards
book.
it. Yeah, but a book feels like this is my choice that I'm reading it and not interacting with you. A phone is almost like some facade of urgency of like,
that's true.
Sorry, I need to respond to this really quickly. It's like there's almost a facade of like, I have to be doing this right now. This is so urgent.
Someone might need me, or I have to see.
That's so true. Yeah, I'm so needed.
I'm so needed. Which I'm like on Instagram, I'm like, who's needing me on? Literally, no one needs me on this app.
No one needs me on this app.
I don't need me on this app, honestly, most of the days.
No, nobody does. Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. I always joke that I used to make my roommates in college play olden days with me, and I would make plans with them in the morning, like before we left for classes, and it was like, we're gonna go study somewhere at 2 p.m. and then I would turn off my location and go on airplane mode all day.
You just have to expect that they're going to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. I
really
like
good
that.
friends, and so they always showed up. But it was like I would be mad at them if they were on their phone when I like walked up and I was waiting for them, because I tried to make them like not be on their phone
go on their olden days experience.
Yeah, they need to be on their olden days experience too. But I'd literally it'd be 9 a.m. and I was like, okay, like my last class ends at 1:45, so I'll walk over there. I'll meet you at the bus stop at 2 p.m. And like, we're not riding the bus. It was just like the place to meet, and it was so fun. But I didn't get people to do it that often. It was literally so fun, and I've been thinking about it a lot recently because I've made some friends that I run with, and we meet halfway in between our houses, but none of us bring our phones when we run, and so there's like. It's so much closer to my house than it is to theirs. So there's usually a 5-minute period where I'm just sitting there, no phone, no nothing. And literally, I even feel weird stretching because I'm on the side of the road.
Yeah, you're like, I clearly look like the most random person, which no one's thinking that. Yesterday, I was about to go to a baby shower, and one of the girls in the home is moving out. My home is moving out, and they're moving to a new place, but it's like 6 streets up. But New York shuts the streets down for like the city streets.
I saw that. That seemed fun.
It's so fun. It's such a blast. But we didn't consider that the Uber couldn't go to her street necessarily. I assumed like they're going to be on 110th. And almost like the northern, like north-south streets, I thought those were the only ones blocked off, but it's all of them, like all around the park.
Yeah, no worries.
Like most of the major streets. So anyways, we end up having, and I'm like about to leave in like 30 minutes for like a baby shower. And I'm like fully did my makeup, fully ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, wearing a formal outfit with ballet flats, and just packed the car, things in the car, and I was like, oh, I'll just help her. Like, and I even grabbed my phone and I was like, oh, I don't even have pockets, I'll just leave it. Well, anyways, because it was summer streets, they truly dropped us off like 15 minutes. It felt like so far away. The most random location. The guy's like, you had to get out. He's like, is this okay? We're like, no, could you like drive up? And he's like, I literally can't go further. He like said no.
No.
No, he literally said no. He's like, I'll help you. Luckily, he helped us unload it. But he helped us unload it to, I don't even understand what was happening, but music's blasting. There's like a crew of people like holding a banner. And we are bringing it like a piano, an air conditioner, like full boxes of her things. And there's only 2 of us. Yeah. And there's a whole like curb that you have to walk to get to her building. So Kat is going and like making little runs. We have to call Bella. She's in the shower. And Bella has to like, she's like a minute tall right now. We're like, you have to get here. Because you still have us carrying this in like 90-degree weather. Sweaty again, essentially. And I'm sitting there. Like I just sit on like her air conditioner and have to wait for like 30 minutes. And I had no phone. And I just remember I kept thinking, and honestly, people did ask me, are you okay? Like, it looks like I got evicted or something happened. But it's just the idea that like I didn't have something to revert. I almost started reading one of the books she had like in her little box.
Just to have something to do.
Yeah, just have something to do. But it was good. I was just people watching. And, you know, once I kind of got over the crutch of, oh, okay, yeah, I really just got to stand here, you know?
Yeah.
It was fine. I was fully unpacking things, you know, thinking about stuff. But all to say is
so
same.
Interesting though that's
olden
a
days.
social feat.
That was my olden days experience.
Olden days experience, yeah. I'm like, I feel like I used to randomly do that a lot, so I'm thinking of all these stories now. But it's so funny.
My phone used to die, or my phone still does all the time. So I feel like I low key go on olden days.
Honestly, we're olden days girls in that type of way. It's like literally that happens.
Hope I make it home.
It's so much worse for you than it is for me. Like that's a bad idea.
It's improved my life skills or like ability just to figure things out.
Yeah. But it is like just so interesting that phones are like so integrated into our lifestyles that whenever like we have 30 minutes without it in a public setting, it's, oh, that was my social feat. Like I met a friend without like constantly texting the entire way that I was like on my way, and you know, it's like confirming and double checking and all these things 10 million times. It's like such a social feat. And even like thinking back to like the science and like psychology of parasocial relationships, it's so interesting to like extrapolate it. And in all these scenarios that we're kind of talking about, it's like you realistically have the choice to either invest in something that will never invest back in you, like the time that you give to this parasocial relationship that is like X, Y, and Z, content creator, like AI, ChatGPT, like whatever it may be, like it's your parasocial relationship that will legitimately never invest back in you. Or having like even a one-off conversation, like
it builds like a certain life skill.
Yes. And so it's like, even if it's a weak tie, even if it's a random stranger, like obviously it's nice if it's a friend or an acquaintance, but like any type of human being and human interaction has some kind of emotional payout and fulfills your emotional needs with a promise of some form of longevity. Even if you never see them again in your life, maybe you do, and that's the beauty of human relationships. But over and over and over again, we have this choice of no return on investment or potential return on investment. Yeah. And we're picking no return 9 times out of 10, which is just so interesting. Yeah.
One of the disadvantages from the article, the research paper that I was reading, talked about how emotional needs are, despite them maybe being met by like a parasocial relationship, they're inherently social. So like people's emotional responses are directly influenced by our ability and need to like emotionally regulate either our current or like perceived sense of closeness to others. And so it was talking about like emotionally regulating yourself, essentially the size and diversity of someone's support network kind of affects their ability to thrive. So like the more diverse of environment you're put in and like the more people you're around, the more likely you are to like actually be able to regulate yourself emotionally, which is really kind of interesting. And I could see this being true in terms of like being in differentiated and like sizable groups, like it allows you to intuitively be rewarded and punished by your ability to like, adapt and kind of have emotional needs and nuances within conversation. I think it's why, you know, people argue that like, being in team sports is really good for young kids, because I feel like they learn to kind of be like, okay, well, if I like pour water on someone's head, they're probably going to be like, that's a little too far, a little too much. But if you're by yourself or like, you know, whatever, you can kind of go nuts,
Like,
but you're kind of rewarded and punished. Yeah, like you're rewarded and punished socially.
Yeah, which makes a ton of sense. And I don't know, it's just one of those things that's so interesting to think about in the world of social, because these are all seemingly minuscule decisions that have overarching, really long-lasting like implications for our lives, lifestyles, our 20s and 30s, you know. And ideally these people that you're meeting have a role in your life, but just looking at the social needs. I know that I was reading this article that kind of looked at like loneliness as quantitative value, and really relating people as someone who is in a diverse environment in terms of social interactions. Their brains can differentiate people from celebrities to the internet, and anyone who identifies on a lonelier spectrum, their brain puts all three of those things in the same category. And so it's almost all untouchable, like parasocial relationships, celebrities, and other people. And those are where those feelings of loneliness come from. But it's kind of like a self-perpetuating cycle of not being able to break out to actually connect with another person socially. Those are all going to stay in an untouchable
It feels
category.
like a higher barrier to entry.
And it's almost, at that point, it would make total sense, because I feel like both of us love talking to strangers, and I feel like a lot of times like we can initiate those conversations and have a huge payout of it and see, oh, I love doing that, because whenever that happens, X, Y, and Z, this whole waterfall of conversations. But I feel like we've also trying to challenge ourselves to do that for a while now. And then if you're just starting in it and it doesn't go well the first couple times, like that's such a hard barrier to entry, because that almost like reinforces the untouchability of quadrant of social. Which, I don't know, that's interesting to think about, because it's the decision to invest in people versus parasocial relationships seems obvious when you experience payout, but what's to be said about individuals who haven't practiced it enough to like receive payout from like real life interaction?
And I feel like a lot of people would argue that almost like their parasocial relationship, it is like more resilient and creates more resiliency. I think just like a devil's advocate point of view is that like it creates more resiliency in terms of their relationships, because this is an ongoing relationship for them, despite them not being able to pour back. But they can rewatch their favorite movie, they can reread their favorite book, they can rewatch a YouTube video or whatever, and like be taken back into this like sense of belonging. And one of the things throughout the article was talking about that a lot of times when people have an emotional, I don't know what they phrased it as, but it was essentially like if you have you're sparked in terms of like feeling a rejection or feeling stressed, that like you therefore find higher satisfaction in the moments that you revert back to parasocial relationships. So it creates like more of an immediate feedback, like positive feedback, and even stronger reaction. Which, I mean, makes a lot of sense. It's like the immediate pleasure versus maybe like like the long-term payout that you were talking about, like
instant versus delayed gratification of it.
It's like being like super hungry and then having like a cookie, and like that's gonna like boost your like endorphins in your brain, or like maybe help you in some way, but probably like not as nutritious. I don't know what it is.
Nutritiating. Nutro. Well, it's so interesting even too. It's like a lot of the research that I was looking at for this talked a lot about like dopamine addiction, and like we were talking, like honestly it goes so hand in hand with like the technology conversation of like the digital space is a frictionless world designed intentionally on, you know, like to be like that. But we're also addicted to dopamine because of it, that we like struggle with delayed gratification that is like real like authentic connection, relationship, genuine connection, anything like that. And I always go back to the stat of talking about like the village, and how about like, you know, however many years ago humans only interacted with 150 people. And I always think about that in terms of like an Instagram feed of like I'm seeing basically 2,000 people's engagements, weddings, babies right now, everyone's new jobs, everyone's trips to Japan. Literally, their babies.
Yeah, everyone's going to Japan.
Everyone's trips to freaking Japan.
Everyone went to Japan this year. I'm down.
Literally.
I want to go to Japan desperately.
I know. I'm like, the need
Dolomites
to be different than me
under
is
sub 5 years. Dolomites sub 5 years.
Christine and I are going to the Dolomites, and I'm advocating for 2 years because I don't think I
Yeah,
can
in 2 years.
because 5 is like, that's too far away. I'll be a different person by then. But it's like everyone's going to Japan, and
The
I'm
Dolomites
seeing
might
it.
not exist.
True, which is our
I think
next
that's crazy.
podcast. Stay tuned for week 7, y'all. But anyways, it's just so interesting that it's like like biologically are supposed to have the bandwidth to know about 150 people's lives, and we know about everyone's lives. And then on top of that, add in the dynamic of parasocial relationships. And it's so interesting because I like talk a lot about this with my friends, and like it's always interesting of like the conversation of like when you're in a funk or when you're not like feeling great about life, what apps do you delete first? And like I delete
That's
Instagram
interesting.
because I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't need to know
Yeah,
how
me too.
awesome everyone else's lives are. And another one of my close friends
Or if I
immediately-
just notice I'm on my phone too much, likely that's my default.
Yeah,
So I just
that's
delete
the
it.
default of what it is.
Yeah.
And another one of my close friends always deletes TikTok when she's in more of a funk because it's
Yeah.
harder for her to see the options of life of like, okay, well, this influencer who makes $200,000 per video is obviously on this insane and crazy vacation. And like her brain has a harder time knowing that those things can exist, but she's not doing them. And my brain has a harder time knowing that people that I know are doing like X, Y, and Z and seeing the highlight reel of it. So it's like the Instagram feed or social media or keeping up with people the way that we do now, even just being able to like text and call is so different than having a village of 150 people. And then you're basically throwing an atomic bomb on that, being like, well, now I get this perfectly curated feed from millionaires who like have a million social media managers curating their life specifically to get them to like to get you to follow them so that you pay attention to their videos so that they continue making this kind of money so that you know, it's just like
Totally.
Like that.
It's such a, and I had this thought kind of based on that kind of idea. We had talked about in our one of our previous episodes how we typically follow or want to watch people in our lives that we view equal or above us socially. So like typically the people that we're watching probably on YouTube or like Instagram is people that are comparable or like more, so to speak, like in like a favorable position. But I kind of was pondering the question, like for someone's life, like does a parasocial relationship motivate individuals to like live out their aspirational life, or kind of what is the correlation between, because for some people I feel like that's probably like the argument. And I'm actually sure maybe some, I think about like Cody Ko, for example. I think the way I'm referencing him, I think I've referenced him in 2 podcasts. But I remember his whole thing was like to create an environment for people to run who aren't expert runners. And the way people kind of responded to it was, they actually felt very motivated and felt they had someone alongside them, which I'm sure was probably because someone in their life wasn't running as much. Because you would prefer probably to have someone run with you or like train with you or whatever. But I think about, I don't know, a small business owner, does that actually motivate people to want to start their business because they saw how a young girl our age did it? And it's and honestly, in some ways, I do feel inspired. There's 2 girls, one of them's Bill Gates' daughter, and her roommate from Stanford. They dropped out and they started a fashion company called Thea. That's like a tech, essentially it's like a software you can develop or you can download on your phone, and it will show you, if you're on like Aritzia, how much the skirt cost, but like where is it available online at all for a cheaper price. Anyway, it's really interesting. But it's been really interesting to see how they've scaled their business, and they got a lot of venture capitalists funding the whole like enterprise. And I found it really aspirational in terms of learning like that's possible for girls who are younger in their 20s, because a lot more guys are willing to get investors or start a company, and they almost kind of made it like way less scary because they just pulled the blinds behind what every single thing that they were doing, from like fundraising to their marketing to how they did it. And I was like, okay, but I guess I'm not going to as a comfort crutch, so maybe that's kind of interesting. But some of the research talks about that Because I did kind of like was curious. Since parasocial figures often model lifestyles, values, or behaviors that people admire. For example, a YouTuber sharing their fitness routines, creative projects, or entrepreneurial journeys can inspire viewers to adopt similar habits. Role models and inspiration. Research shows that fans often report behavioral imitation, trying a hobby, habit, or career step after being exposed to parasocial relationship they respect or admire. But it kind of also gives the caveat that it could also lead to envy if you're more prone to look at gaps. So for more people, it's like it kind of makes them feel more angsty. Maybe the example of your friend, or when you're in a funk, you're probably not looking at this person because you're like, and I'm going to do that too. And I can, it feels attainable now. I wish I had that life, Or it's for emotional support. Another way that people indicated that it was maybe helpful for them in terms of pursuing their aspirationals is that they feel seen or inspired, and it boosts their self-efficacy.
Well, it's so interesting because I feel like my experience with it is it's like I do feel very, I don't know, like inspired by those types of creators, and like seeing runners who are doing like crazy goals and just almost having like, your own glass ceilings broken towards things. It's so fun to see so many possibilities of how big you can dream, and seeing other people achieve it definitely puts it into perspective. But to me, it makes it so hard to rest, because even the rest is like consuming media that, and it's just,
that is true.
It's just difficult because I'll do my run and then, shower, get on my phone, supposed to like have raw time
you're
or
like
whatever.
Eating a meal, like maybe
eating a meal, just like supposed to chill. And it's gorgeous, stunning girl after gorgeous, stunning girl that just ran 20 miles at a 7:30 pace. And as suddenly it just doesn't feel I accomplished anything, which I don't know. There's a level to that, which I appreciate, because it is nice to know that, you can dream bigger and, whatever, like the humility behind it. But it's also interesting to
dream bigger or whatever.
Dream bigger or whatever.
Or whatever you call it these days.
None of my business. And it's just interesting because it's like almost having not achievements taken away from you, because that's such a self-regulating thing. Comparison's the thief of joy. That's completely up to me to set a boundary towards. But I definitely am someone who like deals a little bit more in comparison with those things, and I always notice a trend. And then I always have to, touch grass, and it's like, okay, I'm not a running influencer. Like, this isn't my job to be doing, and just like taking a step back and recognizing, like, on top of all of that, they're not posting their bad runs, or they're not posting their hard days of being self-employed or X, Y, and Z. They're not posting, actually, those girls maybe, they sound like they're awesome. But, just, there's, I don't know, realizing, like,
they might just be awesome.
They might just be awesome.
It's okay that you're not, like, as awesome in that area. That's actually, like, good,
Yeah, that's actually, like, just how life is. But it's so interesting to, like, look at parasocial relationships in the context of how it makes you view yourself, like a window into someone else's life without the full narrative, but just seeing, like, curated content and, like, the perception of it,
And I think equally it offers an opportunity to...
There's a mariachi band outside my window right now. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, same.
I like that about you.
Oh, you're sweet.
I love that about you, Summer.
Oh, Christina.
But anyways, I feel like it's an interesting, alternately to how you view yourself, kind of, it's interesting to think about how you could be romanticizing your own two-sided relationships. Whether your parasocial relationships are making you view your current relationships as more threatened in terms of them not bringing you as much comfort, or being unrealistically perfect as the one that you get to one-sidedly interact with, or like the one that brings you comfort through a YouTube video, versus like a friend that like can't answer your phone call whenever you need them, or a friend that maybe doesn't give you the response that you'd want. And I think it creates, I think in our episode of Why Our Brain Loves Simple Stories, like it can create this kind of fallacy where we assume that relationships should therefore be easy because of the lack of friction that we have with our parasocial interactions. And I think it's, once again, yes, it can meet a need, but is it long-term beneficial? Like, what's the
Yeah.
long-term gain
What's the longevity
and what's
of
lost in the immediacy?
what's the payout of instant versus delayed gratification, and also recognizing like effectively parasocial relationships aren't human, even if they are human beings on the other side.
Yeah,
You don't have a human relationship with them because you don't get to see the highs and the lows and the
Yeah.
backstage, the highlight reel and all that. And so just recognizing like, I don't know, I like the way that you put it of like romanticizing two-sided relationships, because I know that I always have a tendency to romanticize, the unknown. What's
Yeah,
it? The
totally.
crush is just a lack of information. And so it's like that's so a parasocial relationship is it's a lot of it's a lack of information.
Yeah,
And so
totally.
recognizing that is honestly the whole thing with the digital literacy is that it's so undoable. We've made it so far, it's not going to be ever
Oh,
irrelevant
yeah.
to us anymore. And so just like recognizing how to manage it really well and like most effectively and almost to make it like work for you. And so
And
using
not
parasocial,
sideline your life. I feel like not live your
yeah,
life watching the game, but be in the bleachers, just watching other people's life or
yeah, exactly.
wishing your life was a certain way, but just like participating.
Yeah.
It's like that Theodore Roosevelt quote, like the man in the ring. It's only the guy like in the actual fight can like give a critique because he put some
Yeah.
skin in the game or
Yeah.
just like
'Cause
actually
he's in it.
invested in,
'Cause he knows.
moved
Yeah.
towards like the person they wanted to be versus
Oh,
like the person
exactly.
that's more easily could like sit and critique
Yeah.
or romanticize and wish and like pity themselves because their life hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, exactly. And like using like parasocial relationships for inspiration and knowing when you just need alone time to recharge or X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z, but then also recognizing when you're genuinely losing like great opportunities to connect with other human beings in front of you and like add a depth of a delayed gratification perhaps to your life. And like knowing when to take the harder route with things and just seeing where, it's like even just talking to the old man like at the coffee shop is something that can add so much novelty to
Yeah.
yours and his days. And that's like, I don't know, not to romanticize it, but it's like the beauty of the human experience to not know
Yeah.
where those types of relationships can lead you.
Says most romantic thing.
I was like,
Not to like
the way that I see
romanticize
it,
it or anything.
not to romanticize anything, but like that just might be the joy of life. Like that just might be the meaning of everything.
That might just be the point.
And like we talked so much before this too about transient seasons and I don't know, taking the easy route out, knowing when that would just be the thing that
Yes.
immediately meets your needs versus
Yes, totally.
something that I feel like we talk about this so much with friends who are only in cities for 2 months or friends who are only,
Yeah,
someplace
totally.
for a small program or things. And it's just so difficult to get involved, in like
Yeah.
local groups or a church or to like have a regular coffee shop or anything because it just
Yeah.
feels so temporary and so
You just
transient.
know in the back of your head you're leaving. Yeah, or you're not,
Yeah.
doesn't seem worthwhile
worth
to
it.
invest. Yeah.
Yes.
Or
And so
maybe
it's like,
that's the narrative.
and so what's the zoom out of knowing that, it's like life can be really long and like those types of small touch points, like obviously the
They
romanticized version.
accumulate.
Yeah, they accumulate and it's compound interest. And obviously, the romanticized version is you're meeting people who become friends later on. But even if you're just having short one off interactions with people that you'll never see again in your life, like that
It's
builds
skin in the
so many more
game.
skills. Yes.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself in the ring and like allowing yourself to be socially challenged, even if it risks rejection.
Yeah, that's good. Dang. Well, thanks, guys. Check out what we got going on in the fact check where we correct all of our mistakes and see who gets voted off the island.
It's probably gonna be me. I'm scared. Yeah.
All right.
You're real.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
All right, everybody.
I need
Welcome
that.
back. It's time to see who gets voted off the island.
Yes. Summer's going to sing us a song.
I'm gonna sing all of our fact check. So you're welcome.
One edition we do
No,
karaoke
just kidding.
fact check. That's like scary.
I cannot physically have that happen, or else I will be publicly humiliated due to being the worst singer on the face of the planet. But karaoke fact check is like a bit that we should be running with. Like,
Yeah.
like that can actually happen, but I want it to always be a threat.
It's never been done before, and
Maybe,
it will never be done
yeah.
again.
Whoever gets voted off the island has to do karaoke for their fact check, has to sing it, has to sing all of their facts.
It's so horribly uncomfortable to even think about, honestly. Just
I
like
can't even think about it.
white noise and someone singing is like so harsh. Even if they have a good voice, it's already kind of tough.
It's already so tough, and then just the fact that it's called like karaoke fact check, it feels like it would be happening like with a fedora on your head, which is something I'm completely making up, but it would just not be good for me. Okay, I'll go ahead and get us started. Me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No, absolutely not. Okay, I'll get us started so that we can jump into life updates and the interesting stuff. Okay, so for the psychology of parasocial relationships, in the podcast, Christina mentioned what she thinks was the parasocial relationship prior to social media. The term itself was coined in 1956 by Donald Horton and Richard Wohl to describe the one-sided emotional connections from people with media figures. So TV hosts, Mr. Rogers, Johnny Carson, Oprah, musicians, Elvis, the Beatles, Beatlemania is a prime example, kind of like the, predating Bieber fever is everyone being obsessed with the Beatles. Radio personalities, late night DJs and talk show hosts, shows that felt like Friends, mythology and legends, people who formed emotional attachments to figures like Hercules, Achilles, or gods in Greek and Roman mythology, and they were characters who felt real, inspiring admiration and identity. That's interesting because I've never thought about a parasocial relationship with Greek mythology, but I feel like some people totally had that.
Yeah.
Religious figures, which reminds me to tell you about my life updates. We've been rewatching Harry Potter, and I do genuinely feel like it's like reinstated a parasocial relationship there. But religious figures like saints, prophets, spiritual leaders often become intimate figures in people's inner lives, like praying to Saint Francis as if he were a friend. Orators and public figures in ancient Athens or Rome, citizens felt personally connected to speakers, like Cicero or Pericles, even though they never met. And then royalty and leaders, kings, queens, emperors like Cleopatra, Napoleon inspired devotion and emotional bonds through reputation, portraits, and public appearances.
Sweet. Summer mentioned a study where individuals were put on bus rides and were told to talk to the stranger next to them, and while the other person was told not to. About 70% of the people who talked reported that they enjoyed it. The study she's referencing is Epley and Schroeder's 2014 study, and this is where researchers ran multiple field experiments on Chicago area public transit buses and trains. And so commuters were randomly assigned to one of the three conditions: to talk, to initiate a conversation with a stranger, to be in solitude, to keep to oneself, avoid interactions, or control commute as usual. And after their rides, the participants reported their experiences, and the overall findings were that people in the talk condition consistently reported more positive experiences, and that kind of included greater enjoyment, improved mood than those in solitude or control groups. And importantly, beforehand, most people predicted the opposite. So they thought that talking to strangers would be awkward or unenjoyable. The study didn't report a 75% enjoyment rate specifically. Instead, it showed a statistical increase in average enjoyment ratings among those who talked compared to other conditions.
All right, Christina drew an analogy between PSRs to a new argument of AI bots and unusual attachments that can satisfy emotional cravings. To expand on this argument against them argues that they divert energy from reciprocal growth promoting relationships or reinforce avoidance of vulnerability in real life interactions. And PSRs, so parasocial social relationships, yeah. And with AI, the illusion of being known has a powerful effect on people, but the relationship is fundamentally asymmetrical. This is what makes them comforting and also potentially limiting. Christina additionally mentioned a man marrying a tractor on TLC's My Strange Addictions, but so apparently that never happened, and we are still We're still confused about how she came to that conclusion as a real event, but TLC did feature objective sexual episodes, which include Linda, the 56-year-old woman who claimed to be married to a 70-foot carnival ride she named Bruce. I'm so sorry. She even spent nearly $90K restoring him and described their bond in intimate couple-like terms. And Nathaniel, a man who was romantically and sexually attached to his car, named it Chase, and he kissed and caressed the vehicle regularly. Okay, so continuing on, Christina referenced the idea of people he passed every day, bringing exciting dynamics into our lives, and there are multiple scientific studies that prove this idea, particularly the work of Gillian Sandstrom and Elizabeth Dunn, found that people who have more weak-tie interactions in daily life, like chatting with the cashier, report greater happiness and well-being. Christina referenced a reporter speaking at one of the big journalism firms about a frictionless online experience is ruining our ability to interact in person. The snippet she referenced was on the Ezra Klein show under the New York Times, which aired an episode called How the Attention Economy is Devouring Gen Z and the Rest of Us, featuring Kyla Scanlon, a Gen Z financial educator and the author of the book In This Economy, and a popular Substack writer called Kayla's Newsletter. Christina also mentioned the product Brick, which is a physical device app which blocks chosen phone distractions via NFC activation. It introduces friction, making habitual scrolling less automatic and more intentional, which is a helpful tool for anyone looking for a no-subscription tool to reclaim focus and reduce mindless screen time.
Summer referenced that in the 1950s, many people believed television would fail to capture Americans' attention, seeing it as a potential waste of time. This sentiment was famously expressed by Darryl F. Zanuck, head of 20th Century Fox in 1946, who remarked, "Television won't be able to hold on to any market it captures after the first 6 months. People will soon get tired of staring at a plywood box every night."
Christina also referenced that many argue team sports are beneficial for children's social development, and this is considered mainly true. Participation in team sports helps children develop essential social skills, including cooperation, communication, and empathy. Being a part of the team also fosters a sense of belonging and community, encouraging friendships and reducing feelings of isolation. These experiences can enhance interpersonal competence and emotional intelligence, preparing children to navigate social situations both in and out of sports.
Summer referenced the quantitative effect of loneliness. Essentially, this study states social connection is critical to well-being, yet how the brain reflects our attachment to people remains unclear. We found that social brain stratifies neutral representations of people based on our subjective connection to them. In addition to that, it separately clusters people who are and are not in our social network. And more than that, the people we feel closest to are represented most closely to ourselves. And kind of to wrap it up, lonelier individuals also appear to have a lonelier neural self-representation in the PFC, as loneliness between attenuate, I don't know how to say that. Loneliness attenuated the similarity between self and other neural representations in the region. The social brain appears to map our interpersonal ties, and alterations in this map may help explain why lonely individuals endorse statements such as, "People are around me, but not with me."
And Christina also mentions that within the study, people perceive parasocial relationships to be effective at fulfilling emotional needs, that they hypothesized and studied in Study 3 that people are feeling stressed or socially rejected, they are more likely to resort to their parasocial relationship for comfort. The following was from a finding from the study. In Study 3, the researchers looked at how social rejection affects people's use of parasocial relationships. They explained that humans have a kind of social meter that signals when we feel accepted or rejected. Normally, we manage this by checking in with our real-life relationships to see if they're meeting our emotional needs. This study suggests that people might do the same thing with parasocial relationships after experiencing social rejection. They may rely on their one-sided connections with media figures or celebrities to feel supported and socially accepted, especially if that's what they're naturally diverted to. Christina referenced the man in the arena quote to highlight that parasocial relationships shouldn't take over our lives, but they should inspire us to take action and push ourselves forward. The quote, delivered by Theodore Roosevelt during a speech in Paris in 1910, goes, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short and short again, but there is no effort without error and shortcoming, and who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm and great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, and who at best knows in the end of triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if fails, he fails while daring greatly, so that this place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Wow, that'll put a fire in your stomach. I can't imagine saying something like that.
I want to have that framed in my house.
I kind of want to have that framed in my house.
You just did.
Yeah.
Word.
I, like, super infamously say that the only reason that I did remotely well on the APUSH exam in high school was because the entire thing was somehow about Teddy Roosevelt, and that's, like, the only thing that I know about.
APUSH is such a old school term to me. Like, that, it just sent me, like, in a new place. But true.
I know.
Summer, what's your fact check update?
So. Ooh, gosh, I keep saying that I'm just claiming this is the summer I had health issues because I had to go back to the doctor yesterday.
I saw that. I was trying to recount what exactly you said to someone, to our friend Emily Denny. We were having dinner, and I was like, I love when people kind of spoof off the summer I turned whatever. And I said, Summer did one. Couldn't remember what it was. I was like, it was the summer she turned. Summer she had.
She did. Blank. Yeah. So
she did health issues.
The summer she had a tick.
The summer she turned health issue.
The summer I turned health issue is exactly what I'm experiencing, and it's taking over my life.
No,
it is.
How's your doctor update?
Exhausting. It's fine.
They
gave me a steroid. Oh yeah, I actually went yesterday. I don't know, you probably can't see, but I literally have a brand new rash, basically. And I have a brand new rash. I have some prolonged symptoms from Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and I'm getting pretty worried about it. So I went back to the doctor yesterday, and they gave me like a steroid for it. And I'm pausing running for now just to
oh gosh, yeah,
be, like aware of it and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they gave me a steroid, and then they said if I'm still feeling terrible by the end of this week, I have to go see an infectious disease doctor.
Dude, that was what my grandpa was
going on. An infectious disease doctor?
Would have gone and seen him.
I wish. That sounds awesome. I had never heard of that practice of medicine until yesterday, so it was a little bit scary.
Very niche. Yeah, I feel like it feels... But I think if that's their specialty, honestly, probably the best person to talk to because they could probably help you nichely, like, also treat it.
Figure out what's going on. I know, it's so random, but I'm also finding
Can we also
freedom.
talk about the fact that... sorry.
Oh no, I said I'm finding freedom.
I interrupted you because finding freedom, and I interrupted you. Tries to change the subject. Anyway,
that's enough.
I'm finding freedom anyway.
Anyways, whatever. Need lease on life. Blah blah blah. Same old, same old. I'm saying I'm finding freedom in my health issues because like my main experience is that I'm just like so fatigued, and I feel like again we were saying last week, like a cornerstone of my personality is like having a ton of energy, so I'm trying to allow myself to like be fine with it, but also that's exhausting, so I'm like drinking energy drinks.
Fatigue is interesting. I remember I don't know what happened. I was sick, and it was such a different experience. I remember thinking, this is different than being tired. It's like my body hurts in a deep way. I know. But
in a deep way. I know.
It's like I feel like I would walk in slow motion.
I'm walking in slow-mo. It's taking me double the time to get up the stairs. and I'm like, I truly was running 15 miles with like no problem
Yeah.
last week. How did we digress? I know, but
You'll
it's fine. I'm leaning
you'll get
into
it back. You get it back.
I'll get it back. I'm not worried
Yeah.
about it.
Love it.
I've got it.
She's
Yeah.
leaning into it.
I don't think if there's anything else. Oh wait, what were you about to say?
I was gonna say, can we acknowledge the fact that my sister and you were hugging?
Was just in the space.
Which is in the podcast space.
Literally, they were like, "Should we do it behind the scenes?" And I was like, "In 2 hours? Yes."
Yeah.
Y'all gotta circle back.
Basically, I get a FaceTime from my childhood best friend, still best friend, who now lives in Dallas, is now Summer, is a great friend. And they send me, I get a FaceTime answer, my sister, Bella, and her boyfriend, and Doug and Abby. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to forget it. It was that moment where I got scared. It's like, it was all there again. And Cindy was all there. And I was here by myself.
It was such a good FaceTime.
It was good vibes.
Truly,
I feel like the Oscar photo.
Yeah, true. A moment, if anything. Well, I was having one of those, days, and it all has to do with, the summer I turned health issues. And I was like taking a 1 p.m. shower, which you always know that you're having a day when you're taking a 1 p.m. shower.
Totally.
And then I was like, I have podcast at 3, like blah, blah, blah. Abby's going to come drop off dresses. And so I was literally, sweatpants and a towel on my head actively. I take the towel off as I am opening the door. Open door, see Bella standing directly behind Bella, Daniel, who I haven't met in person. And so truly I think that they're taking a video and it was one of those blink blink, nothing registered in my brain. So
that's a hard one.
Literally the thing that threw me off the most was because I was like, I've been texting Christina all morning.
Yeah, we've been texting all morning.
Yeah, whenever y'all I feel like you guys have surprised me before, or Bella definitely has.
We always gotta
in high school got surprised all the time. Yeah, you guys always have some kind of scheme going on. And whenever that's happening, I'm like, yeah, obviously I haven't heard from you guys in a while. This makes sense. But to have been texting you all morning and then still for that to be my reality was really what threw me for a loop.
And I'd been talking with Bella all morning and you, so then it was just such a
that's a crazy one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Best. But Bella was in town with our bestie in Dallas, and that's the best vibes. Me and Bella have finally found a home. That's my life update. Yay!
San Luis today.
San Luis today. So that'd be super fun.
Excited.
The former tenants were supposed to potentially leave all their furniture, but I called the management today, and they took everything. I was like, everything? They're like, everything. I'm like, oh.
Everything. Yeah. Which is the perfect thing to happen when someone says that they're going to leave it for you.
I know. That was almost one of my main excitements about this apartment, but it's totally chill. It's honestly such a cute apartment, so I'm excited about it nonetheless. And because my alternate option, summer's coming later September, and
Literally
so soon. And our other option, we would have been moving in the day you would have come. So that would have really gotten crazy. I wasn't going to unpack that with you, but I was like, Summer's going to have gotten in. And we're going to have to also move in all these things. And our other great friend, Heidi.
To help you guys move.
Literally, it was that's going to be so messed up. But it might just be insane. How the cookie crumbles.
The cookie crumbled in the way that I'm getting a new job being a moving crew in New York City.
Yeah. Probably. You're my task rabbit.
Great living doing that. Yeah, I'm your task rabbit.
You might.
That would be funny.
You might break your back, but
that's how we start surprising people. Yeah. Anything? What'd you do this weekend?
Our great friend Aubrey Scott was in town. She's moved to Virginia.
Oh.
And I got to catch up with her. I went to a little rooftop. Honestly, I had a very chill weekend. I woke up kind of late on Saturday and went for a long run on the West Side Highway.
Love.
And that was so fun. I just gave myself so much time. And I took, I ran about 5 miles into the West Village, got a smoothie. And whenever I went to Joe and the Juice, and I went in the line to go to the bathroom. And it was an extremely long line for like 3 people being in. Essentially, like 50% of the people in Joe and the Juice were in line for the bathroom. And I feel like all had just finished a run on the West Side Highway. So it kind of started getting a little scary, you know, because we were waiting out there for so long that for sure every single person was working through something, I would say.
Yeah.
So that was just like an interesting element where I was waiting in line for so long that my smoothie was called before I even went in the bathroom. I was in there for so long. But it was great because I got to call some friends. I just like sat on the corner booth. You know, just those moments where you're just really satisfied. I was by myself and I was just observing people and I kind of was grinning a little bit. Like I was just really excited by the situation I found myself in.
Solo experience.
Yeah. And I honestly it was just interesting because I start grad school this week and I don't know, I had the thought, oh, I never, almost just like if you could see yourself a year from now, would this be what you're expecting? Because it is very different than necessarily what I thought, but I'm super happy and like grateful. But it was just an interesting moment of being like, oh, if you had, I wrote a poem about it. It's called Ever Forward, Never Back. And just how life always moves so much faster than you could ever remember. But I was just having like such a reflective, like, again, I feel like I would never have thought I'd be like sitting here. I just could never anticipate like what's going to happen in a year. So it just made me excited for the year ahead.
And then it's like your montage movie moment of your processing and, you know, the transient, whatever, everything.
Yeah. And it kind of felt like fall. I don't know. It felt really nice. It had like a cool breeze going. It was dreamy. And then I just took like a long shower, just got packed, and then hung out with some friends. Went to church and grabbed bagels, and then had dinner with Epley, Jenny. It was just more of like a casual, like here and there, like chit-chatty moment. But I was kind of in my feels this weekend. It was just sweet seeing friends that I hadn't seen in a while, and I was like, oh, everyone's like in such different stages of life, and life is cute.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
I like the nostalgia of like you've been in New York for like 3 years now, of like long enough to have seen like significant stages. True. That's crazy.
Yeah,
like
I know.
But just like long enough to like actually have seen like significant stages alongside people is like I'm obviously feeling that on like half scale now, but it's like, oh wow, I've been here for like almost 2.5 years now, and it's like oh, I've like actually done a significant chunk of life with the people that I know now, which is like there's just like a sweet nostalgia to that because it's like no longer new friendships but just like regular life, which is just like so sweet.
It's the over seasons thing that I'm like, oh, people have seen me through something, which is cool. That's been like in the city and wild because you just would never. I literally thought I was gonna live in New York for like 4 months, so like 4 years later. 4 years feels wild. Because me and Natalie were talking about how you're not normally in like get 4 years of anything other than when you're in into college or whatever. Yeah, into schools. Yeah. And so it was just interesting. I was like, oh, 4 years of the city. Even though every year felt so different, but it's too much feels. Sorry, y'all.
I know. I get like honestly the transition into fall though is like what
I know. Yeah, it feels right.
Like I get so about it. Yeah. Thoughtful. I'm like it fully is like 110 degrees here for the foreseeable future, but feels activating now. So
like wait,
oops.
Isn't it like super hot over there? Hey, but you'll be in full fall mode whenever you come. I said I don't feel like we even had summer.
Oh no.
In New York.
That's another part.
Yeah, it was June 16th. I was looking at my photos and I was wearing a full sweater. And then I was wearing a sweater again in August. So I was like, wait, what? Got a little crazy on me.
You guys had a month and a week and a half.
We had a month. Truly, I was like, crazy. Kind of was like,
what happened here? Yeah, no. Really? Oh my gosh, my life update? My sister just gave birth, which is setting me up for the best September of all times because I have a wedding in North Carolina this weekend, which I'm so excited for. So and then I'll get
Where
to
in North Carolina?
And New Hill. It's outside like Raleigh and Durham.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Everyone that I've said that to has like not been there, so I'm a
I don't know
little
where
bit
that
scared.
is, but I know
Yeah.
where Holly and Durham is. You
I'm
tell
gonna
her.
romanticize the Raleigh weekend because I have to get there like a day early, obviously, just in case airline
That's
stuff.
beautiful. You
And
should
so
go to Chapel Hill.
I'm gonna have
Check
myself
it
a
out.
Raleigh time. Chapel Hill. Okay, I will.
Yeah, because it's
Just check
right
it
in
out.
that
I've
area.
like never been to North Carolina, so I'm really excited to like
No way.
see what y'all are about over there.
Yeah.
Understand
Of course.
Christina on a deeper level. It's exciting.
Honestly, it's funny because I don't even know that I know North Carolina anymore because I feel like I go back in and I only know my neighborhood because it was my childhood. So I'm like, shut up to
Yeah.
my cul-de-sac or the places my
Y'all.
parents dropped me off at when I was
Yeah.
a preteen.
Like, that's
You know, like the group
sweet.
hangs.
Yeah, that's so fun. And then I'm going to go meet my new niece, and then I'll be in New York with Christina,
Girl.
so it's gonna be
Angel.
a time and a half.
We're gonna go see the Dua Lipa concert. Would you?
I
Dua Lipa's like
literally
a core memory, just a core part of our friendship. I feel like at this point,
yeah,
so I feel super
which is
exciting.
honestly like something that's so out of character for both of us. Like whenever
I
I'm telling
know,
people
and
about
I
our
don't really listen
relationship,
to her music that often.
I haven't been for the past few months, but whenever I'm like telling people about our friendship, I almost always include that because I just think it's like so fun and it's like a little bit surprising. Isn't it?
Anyways,
What were you gonna say?
I don't know how do we close that.
No.
Recently, I've
comfy.
noticed if I get like slightly nervous, I go like this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go too.
So, oops. Okay, well, that's all we got for parasocial relationships, y'all. We'll see you next week.